I believe this presentation is going to be interesting for you. This is our clinic where I'm just sitting right now in Zlin, in eastern part of the Czech Republic. And it's where we did the first surgeries with this IsoFocal technology. And we have 6 months clinical results. And I think this technology is quite new and unique. We have Sebastian and Marine here, and Physio, that's your turn.
Thank you, Pavel. I would like just to introduce you again, Pavel, and to thank you for your support during this webinar. So I would like to welcome all the audience to the live BVI webinar. So before that, Pavel is going to start his presentation. I'm going to just to make a small introduction. So you know that 10 years ago, Physio has launched Fine Vision, the first trifocal lens. And this state-of-the-art technology has been showing during more than 10 years clinical follow-up the safety and the visual acuity efficiency of the Fine Vision trifocal lens compared to bifocal lenses. Seeing the promising clinical data that it will be shared today by Pavel Stodulka from Czech Republic, there is no doubt that IsoFocal technology, like the trifocal one in the past, will be a new solution for cataract patients who could receive a monofocal lens. So today, Pavel, I'm so glad to welcome Dr. Stodulka. He is an internationally well-known innovator in the field of eye surgery, and in my view, is one of the best hands I've never seen during cataract surgeries, linked with a high human connection with all his patients. So thank you again, Pavel, for your support, and thank you for your sharing today your experience with ISOPURE 1, 2, 3. So during after the presentation, we will share a QA session. And during the presentation, so feel free to send all the questions you have during the whole presentation of Pavel. Thank you, Pavel, again for your support. And I'm going to send you the first poll. Let's go. So there are 2 questions. So the first is what is the percentage of monofocal IOLs in your practice? And the second, would you consider to offer new monofocal technology to your cataract patients? So Pavel, we are going to wait 15 seconds. It's for you.
Yeah, let's wait short time so everyone can read through the questions and answers. And I would like to, meantime, thank Physio for developing the first trifocal lens, which revolutionized cataract surgery at that time. And actually, Fine Vision lens became my favorite, and it's the most frequent lens in my hands today. And I'm pretty sure that this IsoFocal technology will be another revolution in cataract surgery. Meantime, we also get another revolution in the conferences. We share the results, and thanks to the COVID infection in the world and pandemic, we are organizing this webinar, and unfortunately we cannot meet in person. But anyhow, we believe this will be an interesting source of valuable information for you.
So the first question, Pavel, what is the percentage of monofocal IOLs in your practice? More than 75% are using monofocal in their practice, so 50% of the audience are using more than 75% of monofocal lenses. And would you consider to offer new monofocal technology to your cataract patient? Yes, at 92%.
So we see that number one, monofocal IOL is still the standard of care, and it's a predominant lens. But we also are increasingly using the EDOF lenses and trifocal lenses. And people would be willing to implement a new lens, so that means that the interest is pretty high. So let's have a look at this new innovative technology which creates a whole new segment in IOLs, and it's an IsoFocal technology from Physio. And this lens is commercially called ISOPURE 1, 2, 3, as it's based on the micro platform for incisions 2.2 millimeters or smaller. It's made of hydrophobic glistening-free material, which is very important, and it's been preloaded, which makes it more comfortable for us. And the IsoFocal technology itself is, I think, what puts this technology apart from all the other technologies in IOL market. So let's talk more about this technology. IsoFocal technology means that this lens has monofocal refractive optic, but both surfaces were modified and engineered and fine-tuned for each particular diopter, which is really unique, to get the best optical effect, biggest depth of focus, and still minimizing the impact on the quality of vision for distance and intermediate. So we, at the end, clinically get uncompromised both far and intermediate vision by extended depth of focus of this refractive optic. Here you see the type of optical surfaces, and the optical surfaces of ISOPURE lens are computed not only to lower but also to higher order aberrations up to the 10th order to create just the best balance in between the quality of vision and the depth of focus. And just by playing with those two anterior and posterior surfaces, the company has achieved total spherical aberration of IOL and cornea to be just changed from positive plus 0.0220, which is which stands for the monofocal micropure lens, to a negative value minus 0.071 for the ISOPURE new technology. And this has been calculated and measured on optical bench according to the ISO 2 with the artificial cornea with positive 0.28 microns aberration. So what do we mean by extended depth of focus? It's generated by spherical aberrations at both optical surfaces, and the foci from different optical diameters, optical zones of this lens do not really form one single spot, one single focus, but we have the range of foci which extend the depth of focus, which is very nicely schematically described on the picture. And you can then rely on that in clinical practice. So the central and peripheral rays, in other words, do not meet in a single focal point, and that creates extended depth of field or depth of focus. And the technicians and the optical experts designing the optics of this lens played with the contrast sensitivity and depth of field. And if you generally increase the depth of field, you deteriorate the contrast sensitivity, and then the right balance throughout the optic and throughout the whole range of optical powers enabled Visual company to provide a lens which really provides extended depth of focus without sacrificing the quality of vision throughout the entire range of powers. Here we see the modulation transfer function at the focus of the lens at the frequency of 50 lines per millimeter at 3 millimeter optic, and we see the MTF at the peak here, which stands for the maximum quality of vision, but also we can see the horizontal green line here shows the acceptable quality of vision with MTF 0.17, and you see for the monofocal lens, which is this left part of this left chart, the green horizontal line is much shorter compared to this green horizontal arrow on the right picture, which stands for the isofocal technology. Why the vertical green light for the MTF function at the focus is only slightly lower compared to monofocal lens. What does that mean? In other words, that the quality of the vision for distance is about the same, only slightly less with isofocal technology, but the depth of focus has been significantly increased, and at 3 millimeters we have gained 48% of the depth of focus. So this is 0.54 for monofocal micropure IOL, and we have 0.8 value for ISOPURE isofocal technology. So we really extended, or the company has really extended the depth of focus significantly by almost 50%. And if we look at that, we only have lost 12% of modulation transfer function at the focus for the isofocal technology if we compare micropure monofocal lens and isofocal ISOPURE lens. So there is only a minor loss, 12%, and on the other side there is a significant gain, 48%. As we all know, the vision quality might be different for different pupil diameters. So how does the pupil variation affect the quality of vision of different IOLs? And we put 3 IOLs on this slide. On the left upper part we have a monofocal lens. On the upper right part we have an isofocal lens, and we put an IHENS IOL, which is another EDOF lens. We see the main modulation function at the focus described by the vertical black arrow, and it's about the same for those implants, and the EDOF implants has it slightly lower compared to the monofocal, but the black arrows are almost of the same length. But if we look at the depth of focus, which is a purple horizontal arrow, it's significantly longer for ISOPURE technology, which means that the depth of focus for this lens and this technology outperforms all the other lenses mentioned at this chart. And we have 3 lines at each of those charts. We have a line for 3 millimeter of pupil, 3.75 millimeter pupil, and 4.5 millimeter pupil. And you see that some lenses have more differences for those different pupil diameters, and some has less, and we will come back to this point later on the last charts. So here we see the EDOF value at the focus for ISOPURE versus monofocal at 3 to 4.5 millimeter pupil, and the ISOPURE lens is in purple and the micropure monofocal lens is in blue. And you see the EDOF value significantly lower for the monofocal micropure lens throughout the entire range of pupil diameters from 3 to 4.5. So here the technology, the isofocal technology, managed to increase the depth of focus throughout the whole range of different pupil diameters from 3 up to 4.5. And the EDOF value is therefore almost pupil independent for isofocal technology. And here we see another chart for EDOF value, and we added the IHENS IOL there, and we widened a little bit the pupil range here from all the way from 2 up to 4.5 millimeters. So at the left side of the chart we have small pupil, 2 millimeters, and here the green IHENS IOL outperforms the other IOLs, providing the biggest depth of focus. But this technology loses this advantage quite rapidly, and when the pupil gets to 3 millimeters, here already the green line for Eyehance IOL is almost reaching the blue line, while the isofocal technology is from this point somewhere at 2.75 millimeters diameter, significantly higher compared to both other mentioned lens technologies at this chart. So I think this chart also describes the advantage of ISOPURE technology for pupil sizes 2.75 up to 4.5 millimeters. You can also judge the quality of vision through different IOL optics using the USA Force resolution target. And we have the ISOPURE on the left side and the monofocal lens on the right hand side. And we see the far vision, and there is almost no difference in between the technologies. But for the intermediate vision, and here we have 3 meters, the quality of vision for ISOPURE is even at 3 meters better than the monofocal technology. For 1.6 meters, it's significantly better, and we still see for 1.1 meter an advantage of isofocal technology over the monofocal one. So I hope you are still there, and we have prepared a poll number 2, so I'm going to give the voice over to Physiol company.
Okay, thanks, Pavel. We are still there, no problem. We're not moving. So would you consider an IOL providing both distance and intermediate vision without dysphotopsia of premium IOL?
So the question is, if we get to our hands an IOL which can provide both high quality distance and intermediate vision without significant halo and glare, would that be an attractive option to us? And you know, people naturally like this option. So, you know, we have pretty high 90% of likeness. So thanks for that. So that's why we are here. So let's talk and learn more about this to you attractive technology. So I'm going to share the results of our first experience with this isofocal technology. We have designed quite a simple clinical study. It's a prospective single-site multiple surgeons clinical study with basic criteria: cataract surgery with no eye morbidity, limiting the regular corneal astigmatism to 1 diopter or less. So pretty much typical cataract patients. And here is the outline of our examination strategy and matrix. Preoperatively, we did the general examination, IOL master, IOL calculation, and both distant uncorrected and corrected visual acuities. And our follow-ups are 1 week, 1 month, and 6 months. And we did the monocular, uncorrected and corrected distance, uncorrected intermediate, distance corrected intermediate. And by intermediate, we consider both 66 and 80 centimeters. So we were examining 2 intermediate distances. And we added at 1 month also contrast sensitivity and defocus curve, and at 6 months binocular contrast sensitivity and defocus curve. And at all exams, we also did IOP and slit lamp examinations. Here I'm going to share a surgical video, just showing how we deal with this lens. I typically use laser-assisted approach. So it's a femtosecond laser has been used at this lens, and this has been shortcutted just to save the time. So we aspirated all the lens material. We are cleaning the posterior capsula, and this is the implant we are talking about today, ISOPURE from Physiol. So here the implant comes out of the box, and despite it's a hydrophobic implant, it's been delivered in this vial with the liquid. It's preloaded, so you click and unlock the injector, and it's ready to go. You see the PRS system with two little holes, and you see the implant going through this injector and cartridge inside of the eye through 2.2 millimeter wound. It's a wound-assisted implantation technique, and we direct the implant straight into the capsular bag in centers. Immediately you can aspirate the bubbles and the remnants already below the optic, and we just seal the incisions, inject the intracameral antibiotics, and that was the example how we deal with this implant in daily clinical practice. So once again, I would like to mention this PRS technology of physio preloaded 1-2-3 system for micro incision, which just enables us to shoot the lens inside of the eye through a really small incision with less pressure inside of this system. So here you see how the lens is being pushed through the system, and I think I really like this injector and cartridge with PRS system, and we use that as a daily routine system to inject the lenses, and it was also used in the study. So we managed to enroll 38 eyes of 19 patients, and we were missing one eye at 1 week follow-up, and 38 eyes with 1 month follow-up, 6 months follow-up, somehow more females than males, and the age was 70.1, so typical cataract population. So let's come to the clinical results. Mean refractive spherical equivalent. Pre-op, we were almost at 1 diopter plus, and we ended up very close to zero with minus 0.16 spherical equivalent at 6 months. So whenever our calculated value was just slightly below zero, we took that. So I think this outcome just confirms the correct A constant and calculation for this ISOPURE IOL. Refraction, astigmatism cylinder did not really change significantly throughout this study. And uncorrected distance visual acuity monocular has significantly improved, and final mean uncorrected distance visual acuity was 0.1 logmar, which equals to 0.8 decimal. And we had 37% of eyes equal or better 0 logmar, so that means 37 of eyes 1-0 or better at 6 months. So I think that's perfect for any lens. Corrected distance visual acuity monocular, and we are here even below 0 in logmar, so that means that in mean our eyes were better than 1-0 decimal, and the mean corrected distance visual acuity equal or better 0.1 logmar at all visits. So we did not have any real losers here. 90% of eyes equal or better 0 logmar, 1 decimal at all visits, and 27 of eyes better than 0 logmar, that equals 1-0 decimal at 6 months. So again, for any implant, those are very nice outcomes. So let's come to the intermediate vision, which is the core of this study and implant. So we start with 80 centimeters, and then we will get to 66. So here we have the distance corrected intermediate visual acuity at 80 centimeters monocular, and the final mean outcome was approximately 0.2 logmar, which equals to J4, with 90% of eyes equal or better 0.3 logmar. So that means 90% of eyes were able to read J5 or better. So it shows pretty clearly that this implant provides a really useful intermediate uncorrected or distance corrected vision. And if we look even closer, again, that's a distance corrected intermediate vision at 66 centimeters monocular. So it's also very nice. And final mean outcome was approximately 0.3 logmar. So approximately in mean J5, with 70% of eyes equal or better 0.3 logmar. So again, 70% of eyes are still able to read J5 or better, uncorrected or distance corrected. So these patients do not need any correction for intermediate distance to read J5 mean. So we have prepared two overviews of visual acuities gained at this study at the next two slides. So we have overview at 6 months monocular, uncorrected distance visual acuity 0.1, corrected distance better than 0 decimal, so it's minus 0.05 logmar, uncorrected intermediate 80, so is 0.22, distance corrected intermediate at 80 centimeters, again 0.22, and then we have also uncorrected and distance corrected intermediate for 66.3. So very nice results. And if we look at binocular visual acuities at 6 months, the results are even better. So even uncorrected 0, so that's 10 decimal, corrected minus 0.09, so better than 10 decimal, uncorrected and distance corrected intermediate at 80 centimeters 0.12 or 0.14, and then we have uncorrected and distance corrected intermediate at 66 centimeters closer 0.19 and 0.22. So again, very nice results for both distance and intermediate distances provided by this isofocal technology. Here we want to share the focus curve monocular photopic for at 1 month, and the line with the focus intersects with 0.2 logmar threshold at 1.1 and here at plus 0.6. So we gained a defocus range 0.2 equal or better logmar, which equals to J4 throughout quite a wide range of defocus from minus 1.1 diopters to plus 0.6. So that was monocular photopic at 1 month. And we have binocular photopic at 6 months. Defocus curve, again, we have 0.2 logmar threshold, and it intersects the defocus curve at minus 1.5. And we are above this line up to plus 1. So the focus ranged for 0.2 equal or better, which equals J4, from minus 1.5 all the way up to plus 1. So it's together 2.5 diopters. So I think this is a very nice outcome for monofocal optic with extended depth of focus, which is not based on diffractive, but it's based on refractive principle. So this refractive lens can provide quite a wide range of optical depth of focus without sacrificing the quality of vision. And if we look at the quality of vision in terms of contrast sensitivity, we see the boundaries by green dotted line, and we see here the yellow line, which is photopic, and the brown line, which is mesopic. So the photopic line is well in between the green boundaries of physiological value, and the brown line for mesopic contrast sensitivity is more or less at the bottom line for physiological values. Here is another chart, which is contrast sensitivity at binocular at 6 months, and it's about the same outcome. The yellow photopic line is quite close to the upper border of the physiological value, while the brown line is a little bit over the green line here, and it's almost at the green physiological values at this part of the chart, suggesting still acceptable quality of both photopic and mesopic contrast sensitivities. Here is one more interesting slide which we want to share, and it's about adding a small negative on the left chart and positive cylinder on the right chart in front of the eye, in which the pure isofocal IOL was already implanted. And we see here that both negative and positive cylinder in both 90 and 180 degree axis. So we have the yellow line for 90 and blue line for 180 degree axis. So we put the cylinders in two perpendicular axes to see how the vision is deteriorated by this small cylinder. And surprisingly, maybe we see that the eye with the isofocal IOL can withstand this cylinder without really lowering the quality of vision. So what does that mean in clinical practice? That even if we end up after our surgery with isofocal IOL with a small residual cylinder, the quality of vision should be still high, and the depth of focus will also stay quite uncompromised. So now we come to the conclusion of this presentation and this clinical study. So this was a successful proof of concept, and we did not have any side effects reported by patients. So the halo and glare, which are associated to a certain extent to diffractive technology, was not really mentioned here. There is slightly reduced scotopic contrast sensitivity, as was shown by the brown line at the charts of contrast sensitivity. No photic phenomena induced by this monofocal isofocal refractive technology. Excellent distance visual acuity, so there's no compromise on distance vision, and intermediate visual acuities for comfortable computer reading and also the smartphone. So that's what is very important for many people today, to be able to see nice to both computer and smartphone screens. In reality, we proved that the spectacle independence provided by this implant is from 66 centimeters to infinity, and approximately 1.5 diopters depth of focus, and binocular was even wider. Binocular extended depth of focus was 2.5 diopters. For daily activities, I think we can promise to our patients 1.5 diopters of depth of focus. And of course, we usually note with the new technologies, we need longer follow-up with higher numbers of eyes to verify the mentioned results. Well, at the end of the presentation, once again, physio people are going to present the last poll, the last questions to you. So number one, would you consider isofocal technology in your practice? And number two, would you be ready to offer a new lens category in your practice? Because we believe that this isofocal technology, although it's a monofocal refractive technology, it provides a truly higher quality of vision, which is unprecedented at the IOL market, and I think we can offer that as a new premium lens category to our patients. So it's your time to vote. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a very nice outcome. 91% would consider that, and 88% would even consider to create a new lens category and take the effort to explain to the patients the advantages of this technology and being able to charge patients for these implants. So it's a very good news that Physio company provided this new technology to us. It actually took almost 10 years to them, I think over 8 years, to develop that and fine-tune the concepts in their first attempts with this technology. And we are happy the technology is CE-marked and ready to penetrate the market and ready to serve our patients. So in conclusion, what changed in my practice with this new implant? I think we have gained the new IOL category. We have the monofocal IOLs. In our practice, it's still the majority, but in my patients, it's a minority. My predominant lens is trifocal lens. So now we offer an implant which provides both distance and intermediate vision with minimal optical or photic phenomena, and patients understand it, and it's been pretty successful since the beginning. And of course, we still advocate trifocal lens to the patients who want to see all three distances, distance, intermediate, and near, and can withstand to a certain extent some amount of halo and glare. I think the trifocal and isofocal technologies will be by far the most frequent technologies in my hands, and I'm again happy that the development offers us surgeons such options. So thank you very much for staying with us all the time. I hope you did enjoy and learned. This is our clinic in the Czech Republic, and short video has been taken by myself by my small drone after a busy surgical day. And now I believe we have time for questions and answers.
Yes, Pavel, thank you. Nice view from your clinic, really good. So the first question we received, Pavel, is ISOPURE could be implanted to patients with LASIK myopic LASIK if topography is okay? This is a question.
I believe it can be implanted. We know that the lenses with negative spherical aberrations after myopic LASIKs have the limitations, but I think it can be used. I would suggest here to perhaps aim for a slight mini monovision to the second eye, so one eye aim for 0 and the other eye aim for -0.5 perhaps, to even increase a little bit the depth of focus, but generally definitely after LASIK it is possible.
Thank you, Pavel. Have you get any experience using the ISOPURE with monovision?
Yeah, that's a good question. We just mentioned that. Yes, we do. We implanted after this study a few patients aiming for -0.5 to -0.75. It works nicely. If you end up with -0.75, then there is some decrease of quality of distance vision. I was curious if with this wide range of depth of focus, even if we end up in -0.75, if we still get 20/20 0 logMAR uncorrected distance, it seems like there is some decrease in the distance, But I think the adaptation for this mini monovision with EDOF implants will be easier for patients compared to the mini monovision with truly monofocal lenses.
Pavel, do you promise to your patient that they could use their computer without spectacle with ISOPURE?
Yeah, I confirm that people really can see the computers without spectacles and the smartphones as well with this ISOPURE technology, despite of zero refraction to the distance, both eyes.
So why don't implant ISOPURE to all monofocal patients?
I think that's a very good idea. Actually, we think about that. It might be a question of price, but I think it's one of the possible scenarios. And the other scenarios, which I think will be more frequent, most of the clinics, will be to create a new premium category and charge patients for this category and maintain those mentioned three categories. So that's monofocal, EDOF, IsoFocal, and the third is trifocal.
I have a question. What's the difference between EDOF lens and IsoFocal? Difficult.
Okay, well, to make the answer quite short, there are different EDOF optics, different EDOF lenses on the market. It's getting quite popular. What is unique on IsoFocal lens is that it provides wider depth of focus than most or maybe even any other lens on the market, but definitely than most of them. And it does provide that depth of focus throughout a wide range of pupil diameters from 2.75 up to 4.5, where it was measured, maybe even beyond that. And also throughout the different optical powers, throughout the, for myopic, emmetropic, or hyperopic eyes, you can still count that you get a reliable EDOF effect, depth of focus. And I think the isofocal visual concept is elaborated more than most of the other concepts. Perhaps the iHands lens, which is being marketed quite heavily, to my understanding, is having a small bump in the middle. That bump increases significantly the depth of focus for small pupils. So as long as your pupil is 2 to 2.5 millimeters small only, then the depth of focus is wide. But then with the wider pupils, which are quite common, the EDOF effect gets lower and lower, and eventually there is almost none.
Okay. What is your target refraction with ISOPURE?
Well, at the moment it's 0. But again, I think perhaps to dominant eye 0 and to non-dominant 0.25 or 0.5 might be even more wise, and we gain a little more depth of focus. But our first study and the results which I presented to you today were with the aim 0 to both eyes.
Okay. How do you present the ISOPURE to your patients?
Well, pretty straightforward. We tell them that monofocal lens basically provides sharp vision for one distance, usually distance vision, but it can be calculated also near or intermediate, but it's one distance. And we have a new technology which widens that interval and basically covers both distance and intermediate. That's what more people would like. Of course, you can also calculate it for intermediate and reading. It should work too. We haven't tried yet. I expect that to work. So people understand that quite easy, that you have something which provides them, uncorrected quality vision for distance and for computers, navigation, and smartphones, and that's it. But we do emphasize that for reading, they need glasses. And we emphasize this ISOPURE technology for drivers who frequently drive at night, that there is very low risk or almost no risk of halo and glare. There might be some dysphotopsias from edge of the optic, as we see with all IOLs currently at the market, but it's much less compared to the refractive or trifocal technology. So trifocal technology, which I still love, and I think it will stay my most frequently implanted IOL. Trifocal technology is for people who want no compromise for all three distances, but who are willing to tolerate some halo and glare at night around the light sources.
Okay, thank you. Very complete. Thank you very much. Have you got any experience with the IENS lens from Johnson & Johnson?
Well, I do have the experience, even though very limited. With IHANS lens, even the first 2 months, quite many patients were able to read, but after 2-3 months, there was no reading at all. I think the reading ability was that the capsular bag was still elastic, allowing for some pseudo accommodation. But after that period, there was no reading, and we had a similar experience with ISOPURE technology and even with some purely monofocal lenses that some patients were able to read for limited amount of time. But the quality of intermediate vision, I think we need a study for that, but I think ISOPURE technology has a very nice chance to outperform the IHANS in that, and it's based on the charts and the data from Optical Bench, which I presented today to you, that independently on the pupil diameter 2.75 up to 4.5, the depth of focus is higher with ISOPURE technology. So to me, this technology is more elaborated and should provide better clinical outcomes.
Okay, could we use this lens, the ISOPURE, with AMD patient or diabetic retinopathy patients?
Okay, so well, in diabetes without macular involvement, yes, definitely. In AMD patients, I think the patients would not be able to really gain the intermediate effect. If the macula is not really healthy and working well, I am afraid most of them would end up being disappointed. And I don't want to, under-deliver to my patients. So we do not offer any of those trifocal or EDOF lenses to our patients with age-related macular degenerations. We only offer the lenses with filters, with the blue light or violet light filter, and also the lenses which are preloaded and aspheric and microincision, but we implant truly monofocal lenses to our macular disease patients.
Okay, will you recommend ISOPURE on the dominant eye and trifocal on the non-dominant eye? Does it make sense?
I think it is possible, and some patients would definitely be happy, but generally I am not in favor of implanting trifocal lens in one eye only. Try to implant them bilaterally because the adaptation is best and the performance is best. So I think if you decide to blend those two very different optical principles into two eyes of the same patient, sooner or later you end up with complaining patients which will not be able to adapt for those two different principles. So I personally wouldn't go this way.
Since it reduces a little bit the contrast sensitivity, is it recommended to offer it to cases with mild retinal pathology?
Well, again, the central retinal, the macular pathology, I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't offer that. But to people with some other retinal problems in the periphery, yes, I think that's the way to go. And it's safer compared to trifocal technology, but still, I mean, safer on quality of vision. But still, I think for anything outside of monofocal lens, we need a healthy macula.
And if a patient has received one monofocal lens in his first eye, and he would like to get the ISOPURE in the second eye, are you recommend it?
Yes, yes, I think that's possible, and very likely this patient should be happy about the extended depth of focus. But you can also kind of achieve that with monovision or mini monovision with monofocal lens. But I think the ISOPURE technology can deliver both distance and intermediate, and that should be perceived by patient as an advantage compared to a purely monofocal lens implanted already to his or her first eye.
Okay. I don't know if you can speak about pricing, Pavel, but there is one question. What would be the price in percentage for the patient for ISOFocal technology compared to monofocal lenses in your practice?
Well, what I can say that we have packages, and we usually the premium IOLs offer in a package with femtolaser, and I would place this ISOFocal technology below the trifocal for sure. It's a premium refractive lens, so I would benchmark that based on the price of trifocal technology at a given practice. So maybe you can go 20% or 30% below the price of trifocal lens. I think I cannot really, comment in numbers because it's all different in different territories. And again, as I said, we have it together in the package with the femtolaser.
Thank you, Pavel. Last question now. So thank you very much for your presentation and clear answers, which no doubt it will help many of our audience to try maybe the ISOPURE in the cataract surgeries. Thanks, Marin, also for the technical support. And I give you the last word, Pavel, before we are finishing the webinar.
Thank you, everybody who joined us. We had over 100 people at one moment when I just noticed.
We were more than 220 people.
Okay, so that was at the beginning, and then we have, okay, so that's very nice, and it's therefore worth doing that. Thank you, Sebastian and Marin, for coming with this idea. I'm happy we can share some scientific and clinical knowledge and experience with our colleagues, even at the time of this pandemic. Thank you for providing us with this exciting technology. All the physio group, especially the R&D group led by Christoph. And I would also like to encourage everyone out there on the internet, if you have more questions, you can email me or Sebastian or Physio Company will be happy to answer your questions. And stay healthy and active. We at our clinic already perform elective surgeries, including cataracts and LASIKs. Of course, we do just take all the protective measures, and you see the face mask on my neck, even though I'm here alone in my room. But as soon as I go outside to the clinic, I wear the mask. So I think we should provide the eye surgery and ophthalmological services to the patients, even during the difficult times of pandemia, unless there is really a hot spike of the incidence of infection nearby you or your location. Here in the Czech Republic, also thanks to these protective steps, the incidence is rather low. So stay healthy, and I wish you can, work and provide the service, protect yourself, your staff, your family members, and hopefully the life will sooner or later get back to its right tracks. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you, Pavel. Take care. Thank you for your time and your support. And you are going to receive the next webinar invitation in a few days as well. Thank you very much, Pavel. Bye-bye.
Perfect. By the way, we are just on time. We said 1 hour, so perfect for everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Pavel. Thank you very much.